Hello everyone, this is Shashank Tyagi from Edukemy. Welcome you all. I hope this message finds you fit and fine. So we are starting a short video series in which we are going to discuss the right approach towards each topic of political science optional. Okay. So today we are going to hit Introduction to Political Theory, which is first topic of paper 1 section A. Right? So I have an advice. Before you jump into any topic, you should follow 3 steps. Step number 1, refer the syllabus. For example, if you're starting with Introduction to Political Theory, you should open the official syllabus of PSIR Optional and look for the keywords, the subtopics which are mentioned there. This is your first step. Okay. Second step is you should refer trend of past question papers so that you have an idea that this topic is having how much weightage. For example, if we talk about political theory, so in 2020, a 15-mark question was asked. In 2019, 10 marker. In 2018, 10 marker. It means one question is going to be asked from this part, right? On an average, right? So now we are clear that one question is going to be asked, right? Now, third step is you should refer past year question papers to look what are the major themes in this topic. Means what kind of questions are asked. And these 3 steps are before you jump into the topic, right? For example, if we talk about political theory, paper 1 section A, first topic, these are the main themes on which questions are asked. Example, what is political theory? Okay. Relevance of political theory. Is political theory relevant as of now? What is its importance? What are its tasks? So these kind of questions have been asked in UPSC. Then decline of political theory. Then resurgence of political theory. And then one more part is there, one more kind of question is there, which is explain any kind of approach. They can mention any approach. For example, explain historical approach of political theory. Explain traditional approach to political theory. Comment on contextual approach of reading any text in political theory. So the point is that now we are clear that from this topic, these are the kind of questions which are going to be asked. What is its benefit? Benefit is, as we cover this topic, at the end point, we can analyze whether we have prepared it as per the demand of exam or not, right? So as you complete these 3 steps, now you have to start with basics. When I say basics, you should start with a question which you pose on the topic. Generally, what students do, they just listen to the lecture. Okay, this is what teacher is saying. These are the definitions. No. You should have a question. Why this political theory? Why political science? Why this approach? What is its benefit? What are its demerits? Because in political science, every concept is embedded in a story. If you connect yourself to the story and you remember certain keywords, viewpoint of certain scholars, so that you can quote directly in the exam, then you are on the right track. Okay. So when I say start with the basics, let me give you a trailer. Okay. So when I use the word political science, first of all, you should question what is political, and is it necessary or is it correct to call political science as a science? So first of all, when I use the word politics, there is no one in this world who has no impact of the decisions which are made in politics. Why I'm saying that? Because even if you say that I have nothing to do with political science, something political science has to do with you. For example, political science is considered as oldest discipline of study. Why? Because whenever you have some group of people coming together, consider a time when there was no government, no laws. Whenever a group of people are coming together, they're interacting with each other. They need a particular order. They need certain rules, because otherwise there will be chaos, right? And chaos is not fruitful for anybody. You should you should think yourself, what would happen if even for 1 hour our police, our judiciary, our parliament all say that we are closing our eyes and we are declaring that no law is applicable for 1 hour in India? What is going to happen? There will be a massive loot, chaos, murder, all kind of you know negative things are going to happen, right? So we need order, we need certain rules, we need certain institutions, and these institutions should be given particular set of power. And for this, we need a discipline to study what kind of institutions are needed. When I say institution, for example, parliament is an institution, judiciary, court is an institution, right? You want to become part of bureaucracy, that's an institution, massive institution, right? So all of this is studied in political science because it gives order to our society, which brings stability as well as progress, right? So political, you understand, we need particular order, particular rule, and we need some people on the top who are going to decide these rules, some people who are going to execute these rules, right? Now the point is why it is called science. Consider using the word science independent of political science. Whenever you use the word science, what does science mean? Science as a discipline deduce or interpret what is happening around, why that is happening, and on that analysis, science gives us certain principles. For example, this is my charger. Okay, I'm dropping this charge. So this charge is coming down. Why? All of you know gravity. But we have studied this in physics, principle of gravity, right? Physics is a part of science. Something is happening, and physics is interpreting, analyzing it, and giving a particular principle. Similarly, political science, it is observing what is happening around, what kind of challenges our society is facing, why these challenges. So all these analyses are molded into certain theories, and those theories are considered as political theory, right? However, I would request you to question more why I'm saying that. When I'm using the word theory, generally there's another word called ideology. So many people use these two words interchangeably. Okay. But there is a difference between theory and ideology. What is the difference? Even if you say that you have nothing to do with political science, although you are an impact of political science, right? Because the way our society works, not just political institutions, even the way society works, not just political institutions, even other institutions, even economic institutions, the way companies work. These companies are working the way they work because there are some principles working here. Let me give you an example. As of now, humanity is facing a challenge, which is COVID crisis, right? And I believe that this is the moment we should prove that we are a master race, right? And political science as a discipline was earlier made to be taught to master class because they are the people who are going to take major decisions how the society is going to be ruled. But now political science as a discipline, has transcend those boundaries and accessible and applicable in diverse areas, which you are going to experience, step by step. Now, the point I want to make is when I use the word ideology means some set of ideas which shape society, which shape social conditions, which are considered as truth by a section of society. And these set of ideas have an objective or some objectives. Okay, this is ideology. Set of ideas having some objective, shaping society. Okay, many times we are impacted by an ideology, but even we don't recognize that. But when I use the word theory itself means it is interpreting something which is happening around or which happened. Okay, something which is happening around or which happened, and this interpretation analysis is, or we can also use the word examination, is establishing some core viewpoints which are interpreting something. Let's create a difference between the two by some examples. Whenever you listen some word, whenever you read some word and there is use of ism in the end of that word, ism. For example, capitalism. Whenever there is ism, it means it's an ideology. Capitalism, it's an ideology. Naxalism, ism is there, ideology. Socialism, ism, ideology. Marxism, ism, ideology. Terrorism, ism, yes, terrorism is an ideology, which believes that we should attain our objectives by using terror. Terror should be used as a means to attain some objective, that is terrorism as an ideology. So whenever you use the word ism, it's an ideology, right? So when I'm using the word capitalism, although capitalism is a separate topic, we are going to go deep into that, right? And deep means which is required for your examination so that you are equipped with the exact statements, comments, content, and directly infuse into a beautiful answer. We are going to practice everything along with the lecture series, right? Point is, even if some of you don't know what is capitalism, but you are impacted by capitalism. For example, in COVID crisis, you know that certain companies of India are the leading manufacturers of COVID vaccine. But the first lot of these vaccines were given to some other nations who booked these vaccines because those nations gave some capital to these companies who were manufacturing these vaccines, booked their vaccines earlier, and that is why those vaccines were first transferred to those who gave the capital. So can any one of you say you're living in India and you say that no, this decision has no impact on me? No, this has some impact on you. We are facing the second wave, right? We are having shortage of some vaccines, although efforts are being done and situation is coming under control step by step by the government. But the point is, why that happened is it there is some connection with ideology? Yes, capitalism, because capitalism as an ideology establish our social reality in this way that each person who is there is having right to property, private property, right to have capital, right to have profit, accumulate this profit. So capital is in private hands, right? They have right to accumulate this. They have right to make profits, right? So this capitalism, now correlate with this example. These industries were in need of capital for continuing their research. And if that capital was not accessible by government of of that nation, means I'm talking about India, and this capital is given by some rich nations, then who is going to be who is going to take the first lot? This nation who is giving the capital, because this capital is given by certain big behemoths, right? Big corporations, even big companies, you know, gave capital for pushing this research and ensuring that they are having considerable amount of lot to immunize, to give vaccine to their own employees. So there's a separate topic in political science. We talk about vaccine diplomacy, we talk about vaccine nationalism. So these are important topics in terms of, GS also, in terms of SA also, and for political science also. So as a student of political science, you are going to get to the root of these issues. Okay? But so this is ideology. We are impacted by ideology subconsciously, right? Now, when it comes to theory, for example, theory of state. So in this, we talk about different kind of theories on state. So what theory of state says? It simply says that we have examined the reality of state, how state function, what are the challenges which states have, and what should be the actions. Okay? So generally, theory of state would focus on what is happening, why that happened, and these are the basic framework. So this is given in theory. So theory can be nullified because you have presented an analysis and we have different analysis. Now we can nullify this theory. But when it comes to ideology, it is difficult to nullify that because it shapes the society. It is not just talking about interpretation of a reality, it is shaping the society. For example, capitalism shaping the society. Marxism, it has huge impact, had a huge impact, and even now many people believe in Marxism. Take example of terrorism, take example of Naxalism. Whenever there's Gandhism, it's an ideology. It's not a theory, it's not an interpretation of what is happening. Gandhism, it is an ideology that this is the way society should work. This is the reality. This is the objective. So Gandhism provides certain set of ideas with particular objective, right? So you should also focus on what is evolution, how political science as a discipline evolved. So in general, we can say that in ancient time, political science as a discipline was based on philosophy. Even the word political science was not used. At that time, generally the philosophers would tell that this should be the way to govern the state. This is the way government work. This should be the way the society work. This should be the way education work. So philosophy was the prominent aspect in ancient time when it comes to rule. Philosophers were the people who gave the concept of justice. Okay, this is the concept of justice in this state, right? What should be considered as just? What should be considered as good or bad? But when we move to medieval period, we found that the ruling was impacted by, rules were impacted by religion or scriptures. For example, if you look at the history of Europe, in ancient time, the dominance were of philosophers like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. But as you entered into medieval age, you found that rulers were working under the umbrella of church, some scriptures. They were telling what is good way to rule. But as we move to modern time, we found that political science established as an autonomous discipline, different from philosophy, different from religion. In modern time, it was said that religion is for private sphere. People should have right that this is my religion, these are basic tenets. Okay. But when it comes to rule, there should be a separate discipline, right? Which is having specialization on the challenges which we are facing and how these challenges can be conquered by these kind of laws, these kind of institutions, these kind of powers, right? So these are the times, and this is the dominance. In ancient time, dominance of philosophy; in medieval time, dominance of religion, scriptures; in modern time, established as an autonomous discipline. For example, in ancient Greece, philosophy, for example, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, they belong to Greece, right? And it is considered that views of Socrates, Plato, they are considered as they were like footnotes of political science or different theories which came afterwards. So this was the importance of views which were given in ancient Greece. It is said that political science as a discipline got modeled in ancient Greece. Okay. So if we want to divide evolution of political science in timeline with how it was approached, so we can say that before World War II, in Europe, political science got major, evolution, and that evolution was based on philosophy. That's why the concepts of justice, liberty, rights, we see major contribution of European thinkers. When we are going to cover Western political thinker, we are going to talk about Machiavelli, we are going to talk about Aristotle, we are going to talk about Plato, we are going to talk about J.S. Mill, Locke. All of them belong to Europe. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle belong to this area, Greece, Athens, for the city-state. Then we see Machiavelli, where we have Italy. Then we have Hobbes, which is presently we have Britain. Then we have J.S. Mill, Britain. So Europe was the center of evolution of political science, and at that time, the major imposition was of philosophy. Because philosophy interprets and talks about how should things work, what ought to be, kya hona chahiye, what is good, what is bad. But when it comes to after duration of after World War II, when we talk about time after World War II, we found major development in USA. American Political Science Association, they focused on science and scientific research for develop this discipline. According to scholars of USA, political science should not be based on what is good and bad. We should observe the objective reality. We should analyze behavior of people, and that's where we are going to talk about behavioral approach. Because can we imagine politics without interpreting behavior? Because behavior decides action. So USA focused on that. Scholars of USA focused on that. For example, Garner said political science begins and ends with state. In political science, we should focus on state. A state, which is a in a particular territory, we have certain population, we have a government, and the government is sovereign, completely free to decide how this government is going to run. What rights we are going to give to these people? What are going to be the key decisions? So he said political science should be focused on state because it ends and begins with the state. So takeaway of this short lecture is that you should remember the chronology of evolution when it comes to this chapter or this unit. How one thing is interlinking to another. Okay. You should remember some keywords, key differences in different type of approach. For example, in political theory, you are going to read traditional approach, modern approach, contemporary approach to political theory. And so what is traditional approach? Okay, traditional approach was philosophical in nature. Okay, traditional approach was historical in nature. They were giving political theory on the basis of historical analysis. Okay, ऐसा हुआ था, इस वजह से ऐसा होता है. That is historical approach. You should remember some scholars in each approach, and that's not a big deal. Because as you start reading these, as you practice some questions, connect content of your lecture with the kind of questions asked, these scholars are going to be on your tips because you are going to revise them, make short notes, write them in margin. Okay, if I'm going to use historical approach, I'm going to use the name of this scholar. Okay, if I'm going to use this topic, resurgence of political theory, okay, I'm going to use the name of Thaddeus Koppel, right? So this way you need to approach this. Then you should also remember the challenges in each approach. And why I'm saying that? It will make your answer complete. If UPSC is asking your comment on a specific approach, don't just define it. Also talk about what are the challenges in it. What are the shortcomings? Because shortcoming in this approach led to the development of another approach. So that's why I'm saying in political science, every concept is embedded in story. Just connect to the story. And political science will be like a movie. Okay. So I hope this lecture, this short video helps you, gather basic understanding of how you are going to approach this unit. So let's connect in next lecture. Till then, keep learning, keep growing. Shashank Tyagi signing off.